Well, I have another surprise visit for you guys. This day is just getting better and better. Uh, we actually have Assemblyman Don Wagner from the 68 Assembly District. So, Don was first elected in 1998 to the South Orange County Community College District Board of Trustees. Don served three consecutive terms, including an unprecedented 6 years as board president. Don is committed to his community and has been actively involved in several nonprofit charities. He served as the president of the American Lung Association for Orange County. And over the course of his time in the Assembly, Don has served on different committees, including budget, health, and education. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Don. All right, now.
Thank you, Ian.
Come on, yeah.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I trust everybody can hear. I walked in and I asked, well, how much time have I got? And then pretty quickly realized that that's just a silly question because I'm a lawyer and a politician with a microphone, so make yourselves comfortable. This could take a while. No, it really is a great opportunity to be here. A couple of things I want to say just quickly, and then frankly open it up to any questions. But first of all, one of the questions I get asked most often by constituents and others is how do I make my voice heard? How do I reach you? How do I let you know what I think? How do I participate in what you're doing up in Sacramento? And the answer to that is, frankly, what you're doing in this room. To me, the best way of making your voice heard and why I love coming and speaking to groups and encouraging participation is that you get the opportunity to have your voice magnified. When Ian walks into my office to talk to me about a bill, I know he's not coming in just as, Ian Slade, this guy who's got a great idea or maybe a not so great idea out of Orange County. What he actually is talking to me on behalf of a whole lot of people who are experts in the industry and know what they're talking about and have a position to offer on a particular bill that, at the end of the day, I may or I may not agree with, but it's something that is thought out and appreciated. As I say, I'm a lawyer and a politician. I don't know the issues that are raised in your industry. I don't know how the bills that we enact are going to impact what you're trying to do and how efficiently and effectively you can do it. And so it is great to hear from organizations that know what they're talking about. And so I encourage as many people as I can get involved in trade groups, get involved in lobbying, organized lobbying efforts, because they really do, frankly, help us make decisions as we confront a whole host of bills every day over in the legislature. For example, just today, just an hour, a little more than an hour ago, I was sitting on an appropriations committee dais hearing a bill that deals with the efforts by AT&T to stop having to service their copper, in ground or whatever, however they deliver the service over copper wire throughout the state of California. What's the impact to you, for example? Well, the answer to that is AT&T is making a promise that if they are allowed to get away from copper and save the money that's necessary to service the copper wires, they're going to be able to expand service otherwise, cell towers, et cetera. And one of the things they talk about is the great effect that's going to have in broadening the availability of telemedicine and telehealth to some of these rural communities. True? I mean, I don't know. So that's why, please help us understand, the ramifications of something like that. What in the world, has that got to do with you? Well, turns out it might, in fact, have a fair amount to do with you and the industry and the folks that you're trying to serve. Hearing from you and hearing from organizations that actually know what they're talking about, rather than just hearing from more lobbyists and politicians, is really to my mind, a benefit. And so I thank you for your participation. I encourage you to get more people involved and never be shy about letting us over in that big white building know what you think, because you are indeed the experts. I will take a second to give you a little bit more about my background, because that'll help segue into the other thing I want to leave you with. But as I say, I'm a lawyer and I'm a politician. I don't have that much experience with particular industries throughout the state, other than clients that have come to me. Well, a couple of the clients that I've had the privilege of representing, for example, ICU Medical down in my district, developing several medical devices. I've had a chance to represent them, so I do know a little bit more about the industry. I have right before redistricting, I had Edwards in my district. They're now just kind of slightly outside of my district, doing absolutely marvelous work. And so I've got a little bit of experience in the industry, medical device industry, professionally. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting on the health committee when we're trying to implement the Affordable Care Act, and I'm hearing a little bit about how it's going to stifle innovation, how it's going to, perhaps with for example, the device tax, have an unhealthy impact on the delivery of medical care throughout the United States, not just in California. True? Again, a question. I don't know. Help me. I mean, we're far along. We're busy implementing it. Help me and help my colleagues understand from your position where we are going and how we all want to get to the same place, which is more and better health care at a cheaper price for more people. How in the world do we get there? That is something that, frankly, I'd like to hear from you folks and from others. CMA plays up here. They talk to us all the time. Lots of different trade groups play up here, and they talk to us. But please, don't be shy about letting us know, because I, for one, am not convinced we are going in the right direction. I am not convinced that 10 years or 15 years down the road with the ACA or whatever it looks like, in 10 or 15 years, that our medical care is going to be better than where it would have been otherwise. Maybe more people will have more access to lesser care. I don't know. Those are the sorts of issues we grapple with on a daily basis in this town. And so those are the issues that, there's no question we need your help in figuring out. So I want to kind of throw that out there and see if, what you think. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What are some directions we should take? I know you heard from Ed Hernandez earlier. He's the chair of the health committee. Even if you don't want to tell me what you think, tell him, because he can help direct things in what is the right direction from your perspective. So I want to offer that up, and happy to take any questions about any of the bills that are going out there, or about anything that I've said over the last couple of minutes. But but the bottom line is, please don't let us make these decisions on our own. Help us, because we need it. And what we're doing impacts the healthcare industry. I mean, it impacts 38 million Californians, and impacts them greatly. Frankly, unintended consequences is probably the thing we do best in this town. And so if you can help us along those lines, I, for one, am a member of the legislature, very interested in hearing from you. So thank you for the opportunity to get that off my chest. Thank you for your participation. And are there any questions, either of me personally or just kind of generally, this town and what we're doing and why we're doing it? You guys are too easy. You guys are too easy. All right, so, well, go ahead.
One of the most One of the most, I'll call it confusing or compounding issues from your standpoint in healthcare today that's up in front of the State House?
One of the most well, one of the okay, as I understand the question, what are some of the most confusing or confounding issues that we're confronting in the State House right now? And I think the answer to that is one of the things that is most troubling to me is that this government, frankly, to my mind, just tries to do too much. It tries to do great stuff. None of my colleagues, I am not a cynic about my colleagues. I'm a bit of a cynic about the process. But none of my colleagues gets up every morning and says, how can I screw the state of California today? That's what they end up doing, I say as a proud Republican. But everybody here is trying, I think, to do the right thing. And what is troubling, though, to me is that sometimes, the answer is, oh, there's a problem, do something. The answer, oftentimes is don't do something, you're only making it worse. I make a joke about unintended consequences, but there is some truth in that. A lot of the legislation we pass is designed to fix an immediate problem, something in somebody's district that hit the press that might be a terrible thing. I'll give you an example outside of the healthcare industry. But somebody's trying to do something about it, and they're just making it worse. We had a bill. There was a case that came up out of it was a workers' compensation case, or it was an employment dispute. Arguably, an arbitrator got the wrong decision that arguably is in violation of federal law, and suddenly there are a bunch of people on the Judiciary Committee where I serve that their hair is on fire and they're trying to fix a federal law, and we can't do that. We're the state. But there's a bill out there, and that's, to me, and it's going to get overturned if the governor even signs it. It gets overturned in in no time, in the first challenge, because it's patently unconstitutional. But it was like, okay, we got to do something. We got to fix this one particular problem. And the biggest thing that bothers me is there's so much of that one-off legislation. We spend too much of our time dealing with those sorts of things that may or may not be completely thought out, and we don't spend as much time, for example, working ourselves through the ACA, making sure we really understand it and really understand how it's going to work in California and really understand how folks can make money off of it, because frankly, if they can't, the system's going to crater, and then we're going to be in a worse situation. Finding out, are we really going to stifle innovation or not? We don't do enough of that. We don't do anywhere near as much. I mean, you're all taxpayers in the state of California. You would be much better off if we would spend less time legislating to fix, one or two little problems and maybe not making things worse, and spending more of our time doing the oversight functions that constitutionally we are permitted to do, but don't. So what's the biggest problem facing us? We do too much over here that we shouldn't, that we don't completely think through, and we don't do enough of minding the shop and overseeing the other branches to the extent that we're permitted to do so. So that's in a nutshell the biggest problem. Did we get? Go ahead. Well, no, I mean, did we get? We California covered the ACA in general. I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And if it's a bad thing, what do you folks think we ought to do about it? Because look, I'm getting older, and I'm 55. I want, when I'm 75, 20 years of technology, not 10 years of technology, because we've stifled ourselves for 10 years or something. Did we get it right? What should we do?